Boom, I'm back in the room. Welcome everybody to Everyday Conversations Regarding Mental Health. And the reason that you're here is because there's nothing on the telly. And I'm coming to you live from the old Heale Manor, and I'm your host, Lord Heale. So, this evening, right, you know this channel's all about mental well-being, mental health, taking the stigma out of it. Well, we're going to have a look at a subject this evening, and I've got an expert in the field coming on. We're going to look at domestic violence, domestic abuse, and the stuff associated around that. It's going to be pretty gritty, I've warned you. So, without too much further ado, let's bring in my guest. Dr. Victoria, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome. Now, you've got a bit of a story to tell, and it's become your area of expertise, I believe.
I've been told.
Well, if you can tell us, the floor's yours for a few minutes. Tell us a little bit about how you've got to where you are, and what drove you to it. So the floor's yours.
Thank you, sir. Well, I started out in the corporate world. I have a law background, and I ended up with a broken heart. And long story short, I met somebody on a rebound, which I had never done in my entire life, had a rebound. And he ended up being a narcissistic psychopath that was the charismatic, charming man that looked for that little light that so many of us have, and he placated on it, which I wanted a family. I wanted children, and he took that and ran with it. He ended up really rushing the relationship. When I would try to slow it down, he would literally brainwash me and make me think everything was my fault. Why have we waited our whole life to find the right one? Why would we wait any longer than necessary? And I told him I wasn't in love with him, but I loved who he was and what he stood for. And so we ended up married. We ended up pregnant very quickly after that. I didn't live with him until we were married. And once I became pregnant, the abuse began. And so I want to say right off the bat that it's not a competition between who got hit more, because I advocate for domestic violence and abuse survivors. And so many times I've had people come to me and say, well, I know a little bit about your story. One hit, one kick, one punch is one too many. It is never okay to have someone put their hands on you in an unwarranted manner. I do not care if it's one time, that's all it takes. Well, I end up, as of now, I've had over 100 surgeries. I'm now deaf. I have hearing aids due to the fact that my eardrums were ruptured so badly with all of my broken jaw and dislocations. I have 26 pieces of metal in my face, so you can see the incisions on both sides of my face. All of this is metal. Just to give a small overview, I have a titanium shoulder that's been replaced. And I am, after 18 attempted surgeries and 4 implanted devices, I have just become an amputee. So after 100 plus surgeries, I stopped counting. My daughter came early, and we spent just under 6 months in the NICU. She's had 34 surgeries. She is a thriver and a survivor. She is amazing. I have literally, since then, I started advocating for special needs and domestic violence. I help people, men and women, because men fall at the hands of abusers as well. Help them realize that they are worth fighting for. That is the only way I accept the term fight, because when it's for yourself, then that's okay to say fight. We are not victims, we are survivors. I was stabbed over a dozen times, and it took me so long to realize that I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. That's how many times he attempted and he failed. I survived. I help others see that they're worth it as well. And even the tiniest flicker of light can start a wildfire. And so I go and advocate. I've written my memoir, Who Kicked First, which you can find on Amazon. I am the CEO and founder of A Contagious Smile, where every smile tells a story. We have 3 podcasts, and we are very blessed. We have approximately 40 million followers, and we breed golden retrievers, my husband and I, now, and we give them to special needs families who either don't have the time to wait for them for different reasons or can't financially afford. My husband and I have been paying for that out of pocket from day one. And we basically just want to help pay it forward and help others realize that they are worth fighting for, that they are not the reason that this happened to them, that I know they find themselves at fault. I did as well. But it takes so much patience and understanding to work through it through your healing journey. And so often, so many people just want to say, why didn't you leave? Why did you stay? Why did you make him angry? And there are answers to all of that. But so often, the blame is put back on the person that's getting abused. And we need to make a stand and stop the abuse, break the cycle, and help everybody realize that they are worthy of love. They are worthy of living life. And that's what we do here with A Contagious Smile.
Wow. Sounds like you've been through the mill a bit. Now,
Unfortunately,
your
I would say yes.
your story is fairly typical of somebody that gets into that cycle of violent domestic abuse, because you're made to be the perpetrator. You're the one that's made to believe that it's all your fault that you're getting this abuse, when
Correct.
it clearly isn't. People can see from the outside, if they can see, because quite often it's well hidden, and I think you'll agree with
Yes,
that one.
absolutely.
And it takes some real courage to come to attention, turn right, and march off. For you, when was that point when you managed to escape the abuse?
I tried one time, and he shot and killed my puppy to show me what he would do if I tried to leave him. And like I said, I was pregnant, and I realized that I was in a fight or flight. And like a lot of people, men and women, you really need a strategic exit plan. And I did not have one in place. So at that point in time, I couldn't leave. And one of the things that people need to learn is it's not as easy to get out as people think it is. You need the most dangerous time is when you try and leave, because that's when the abuser escalates. And it is also the most dangerous time for a law enforcement officer. That's the most dangerous call for them to go on. So I started to have to get my things in order. It never was a he said, she said. I had so much proof. My photographs coincided with my medical records, which coincided with sworn affidavits that I had from my treating physicians and nurses, and things of that nature. There was so much to this. And I knew that when the chance came that I got to get away, that it would only be one time, and I better make sure I'm ready, because even when I went to court, I was told that I was in that 1% of the people that their attacker would come back and kill. And so I knew I had to be ready, and I knew I had to get him as far away from my daughter as possible.
So when you finally did escape,
Yes.
what were there any sanctions put on him? Was he prosecuted at all for what he'd been up to? Did did they believe
No, sir.
him and not you?
No, sir. Let me say first, thank you for your service with all that you did as you served for 44 years. I want to say that I know not all military is bad. I'm a strong advocate for the military, but like every apple orchard, there's bad apples. And my ex was in the military, and he actually broke my nose on the installation, and his command saw it, and they did nothing. In the United States, it's 1 in 3 women, not including the men, that are abused. So if it's 1 in 3 that is reported, what's not reported? What is not statistically being accounted for? And they turned a blind eye. They protected their soldier. And so I ended up begging and begging for help. I told him he was going to kill me. They literally didn't listen. And so I ended up going to the civilian sector. I was not in the military. They snatched him up. We had him on 9 felonies, dead to rights. I mean, more evidence. And everybody kept saying, Victoria, why do you have so much evidence? Because nobody's listening. Nobody's helping me. And if he does kill me, I want to make sure he doesn't get my daughter. I want to make sure he can't get her. And so I went to the civilian sector and they snatched him up, and we went to the bind over hearing, and it was let go on a technicality. And I wasn't able to go after him again. So that was a very hard, challenging situation to deal with at that point. I did get the rights terminated, so he has no right to my daughter. She's 1,000% mine and my husband's, who has adopted her. And I got permanent restraining orders. And then I civilly, because I wanted my daughter to see she's worth fighting for, and it wasn't about monetary because here in the U.S. we have caps on certain things. I went after the military, and I took it all the way to federal court, and it's a sealed case because it had to do with a minor, and we won.
Mm. Now something I want to bring up there. Now, the military, yes, they quite often close ranks and look after their own. But
Mm-hmm.
when something's so blatant, so obvious that's witnessed by so many
Mm-hmm.
people, they should have done something about it. He should have
Yes,
been
sir.
reprimanded. He should have been brought out on a charge for
Yes, sir.
assault, and for his command to ignore that. They should be brought to book as well, because
Yes,
they
sir.
they are part and parcel of the abuse.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Now,
sir.
on top of
I
the yeah, on top of the physical abuse that you were getting, was there any psychological abuse that he was dishing out?
absolutely.
Because that's probably more harmful than the actual physical abuse. I mean, you can break bones and stuff like that; they fix. the the mental side, the psychological side of abuse, people tend to carry for decades and really
Yes, sir.
struggle at getting over it. How have you managed to deal with that?
When I'm speaking at speaking engagements, I tell people all the time, we have one heart. And do you want that heart filled with toxicity, or do you want it filled with love? I was told I wasn't going to make it through the night. And the last time I was in the ICU, I was told my daughter wasn't going to make it. We were kept here, and I don't push religion on anybody. We were kept here for a reason. And I believe my purpose is to help other people. And so I pray for him every night. I know that revenge is not mine to give. I don't want that to consume me. I have been in counseling for decades. And so has my daughter. I've always had her someone to talk to if she needed it. And it was honestly, at first, it was incredibly difficult. I couldn't look people in the eyes. Any noise, I jumped. Incredibly scar conscious because I'm scarred everywhere. Um, certain words would trigger me. Like nobody still to this day can touch my throat except my husband, which is ironic. He can touch my throat and I'm okay, but anybody else can't. He strangled me, he suffocated me, he choked me, and it was so bad that we actually got the police took fingerprint pictures, and you could see the bruises on my throat of his thumbprints, which the military said was my hands. So imagine how do you choke yourself with two hands and have two thumbprints right here? It's impossible. You can't physically do it. But the bruising was so obvious that they actually got the size of his thumb and everything, and they knew it was him. But you realize that it's a daily fight. To be honest with you, sure, there was plenty of times when I was sitting with my daughter in the NICU and she was in a medically induced coma that I wanted to give up. But I realized that girl's fighting for me and I need to fight for her. And I want to fight and help other people. But there are certain things that I just have to work through. Nobody's ever going to be 100% over it. But he took enough of my life away from me. He doesn't have that power over me anymore. And that's what I help so many other people realize is that he can't control you. He can't have that power over you unless you let him. And there are ways that I help people realize until you can get out and we can put a strategic safety plan into place. There are things you can do in the interim to keep yourself as safe as possible. So it's a journey. It's a tough journey. But when I realized that life is worth living and that life is worth living when you have love in it, then everything is worth fighting for. And that's what I've been doing.
So tell me a little bit about your doctorate.
My daughter.
No, your doctor. Your
Oh,
doctorate.
my doctorate.
How you became a doctor? What sort of doctor are you?
Oh, philosophy.
Aha. So where did you
I
go
have
for
taken,
that?
well, I've been taking classes at John Hopkins and Emory, Harvard, and Stanford. And I have approximately an additional 50 plus additional courses after I got my doctorate on um, helping suicide prevention, teen awareness, teen psychology, working with women and domestic violence. I had our counties here ask me to come in and do guardian ad litem. They've hired me to start that process. But literally, like any course that I could also do afterwards to help understand the mental capacity of both the survivor and the abuser, I've taken in order to be able to provide adequate help for people. Because it's one thing to read a book and go through it, it's another to live it. You have a totally different understanding about it. And I want people to know that I'll just sit in a room with you. I will be there so you know you're not alone. I am not going to push anything on you until you're ready to talk. But, having someone in the room with you, just sitting there, whether it's just to hold your hand, if they reach for my hand, I'm not going to reach for theirs because they have enough people reaching inappropriately. But just letting them know they're not alone is the number one key thing.
That's quite important. You picked up on there that the abuser quite
Yes.
often they're the ones that's not getting any help at all. And from my experience, if you look back into their history to what they've come through, they've quite often come from an abusive upbringing to start with, and they kind of think
Yes.
that that's normal.
Mhm.
So how do you go about dealing with the abuser side of it?
Well, you break the cycle. You have to teach them. I came from an undiagnosed narcissistic family. And so I was never going to let my daughter hear the words that I heard growing up. And I know that my upbringing put me into the relationship with my abuser. I understand that now. I didn't understand it then. But if hypothetically, because it could be a man and a man relationship, woman, it doesn't matter their gender or sexuality. When you have two people in a relationship, then it is a condition, it's an unconditional, respectful relationship. when it becomes violent in any way, and to me psychological is violent, it's attacking your mind, it's attacking your well-being, then what I tell people is, if it hasn't happened to your children yet or your pet, it will. If this person is injuring you, it's not but a matter of time before it goes on. And if the kids are seeing it, they're seeing that it's okay for a man to treat a woman that way. It's okay for a son to treat a girlfriend that way, or his sister that way, or it's okay for a daughter to treat her brother that way. And then as daughters, we see, oh, well, that's the kind of man that's supposed to be like a father figure to me. So that's the kind of man I'm supposed to go out and look for, because that's all I know. And if you ever go to a friend's house and you have dinner, and it's a completely different situation where, like here at our home, we don't do electronics at the table. We have conversation about each other's day. We spend time together. Every Saturday night's movie night where we as a family sit down and there's no electronics allowed. But when our kids have gone to other people's homes, they're like, nobody talks to each other, everybody's on their phone at the dinner table, and it just was so uncomfortable and so weird. So you can stop the cycle. You can break the cycle. It can be broken. You can realize that you don't need to carry on, if you use the term legacy, that you've grown up with. You're better than that. You deserve better than that. You're worth more than that. And we help people understand that. But a lot of time these individuals believe that they don't do anything wrong and that they don't need help. It's the survivors who are accosted over and over again, who have to constantly prove that they're the ones telling the truth, because at the end of the day, the only thing we have is our word.
I mean, you see so often people go out for dinner in restaurants and stuff like that, and are sat there opposite each other, and you just got to think, are they texting each other rather than talking to each other? And and you're quite right. I mean, so many people nowadays are sat at a dinner table just playing with their phones, and
Yes.
and not communicating with, and it and I think that is endemic of society nowadays, and to be able to break that that habit is a
Right.
massive uphill struggle, I believe.
I do. I also believe, and a lot of people here in the States also believe, that social media is an addiction, just like drugs and alcohol, because
Yep.
people are unbelievably addicted to it. And my grandfather had the best saying in the world: if I want that person who is on the phone, and this is when we had the corded phone on the wall, if I wanted that person at my table for dinner, I would have invited them. Hang up, put it away. And so I try to implement those rituals into our family, because we don't have that at the table. There's no phone at the table. Everyone I want at that table is at that table. And
Yeah.
anything else, unless it's life threatening, can wait until we're done with the meal.
Absolutely. And I think that's a message that we can give out to just about everybody. Take the time to sit down and have a meal and talk to each other. Turn the phones
Yeah.
off, put them away, over a meal, have a
Yes.
chat. And and
Yes. Absolutely.
and you'd be surprised how that can improve your life. And the
Yes.
whole family can improve by just taking that sort of half an hour out to sit around a dinner table, have a meal, and just talk to each other
Right.
without the sort of got to check your face ache or your Twitter and what's going on X.
Yes, it's horrible. It's horrible. And, the perception of the teenagers online, I mean, you look at today's time versus 10 years ago, before we had all of this garbage, and it's literally like the violence. When we were in school, we worried about dodgeball, we worried about who's going to get on the slide during recess. And now, when I talk to our kids, and I mean our kids on the teen talk podcast we have, the first question I ask them is, what is your biggest fear? And they say, coming home from school, because I'm afraid I'm going to get shot at school. And that's horrific. To think that kids, And then the whole transgender thing that they're very confused about. And we have a lot of kids that come on and say, honestly, I don't know what I want to do for my next birthday, but then they tell me if I want to come to school and put on a dress, I can go in the girls' bathroom. And it's so confusing during this period of time. And so it's like, you have no safe place. Your home is supposed to be your safe place. It's supposed to be where
Yeah.
you are happy and safe and you're loved. And that's what's important. And your school is where you go to get an education. And today, they don't write anything anymore. They don't teach cursive. They don't teach spelling. Everything is on a laptop. They can have their phones in class. They can bring drinks to class. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've been homeschooling my child for years now, and she's excelled past all the milestones. And these kids feel like they have nowhere safe to go. If they're unfortunately in a situation of violence in the home, then they come to school and they're either being bullied because they're, introverted, or they are the bully and they don't feel like they have a safe place anywhere and nobody wants to
Mm.
talk to them. So they go home and what do? They play video games, which are all violent. Even Minecraft blows stuff up. They don't
Yeah.
have the Frogger and Donkey Kong, games that we had. And then they get on social media and there's so much press out there to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to do certain things. And then you hear about elementary school kids that are bringing guns to school and shooting their teachers, and middle school kids who are, shooting up their homecoming dances. And this world is so out of control, and we need to make a stand and we need to make a change.
I mean, we had the same problem over here, not with guns so much, but with knives. I mean, kids are going to school carrying knives because they carry them because it's protection for them. But the problem is, it's not. They end up getting into a fight and stabbing and killing somebody. I mean, we had one just a few weeks ago. We've had 16 kids under the age of 16 being killed by knives this year. There was a girl on a bus in a place called Croydon. She tried to intervene between her and her boyfriend because they were trying to split up, and her boyfriend stabbed her and killed her. She was 15. This is just a couple of weeks ago in the
It's
UK.
hard.
That's 16 kids under the age of 16 have been murdered this year, and that's just in London. I
Right.
mean, the problems are across the whole country, and it's knife crimes going rife at the moment, and you just have to worry for these poor kids.
Yes. Yes.
But that all stems from how they're treated in the home, how it all starts.
Absolutely.
So I don't know where it's really stemmed from right in the beginning, because it just seems that nowadays it's far worse than it's ever been. It may be because we've got more access to social media. It's blown out of blown up and it's glorified by the
Hmm.
press. I mean, they love a story like that,
Yes.
and to glorify it and make it even worse than it really should have been. So going back to kids being brought up in a violent upbringing and brought up by narcissists and abusive, it can't go on.
Right.
But this is the Western world. But if you have a look at the Eastern world, you have a look at the way that they look at what they do with kids and youngsters in the Eastern world. The Islamic world's probably one of the worst for it. I mean, they marry kids off at 9, girls off at
Yes.
9. That's just wrong.
It
And
is.
then they bring that culture to the West and expect us to accept it. I mean, we had a
Mm-hmm.
case here the other day. Um, there were seven blokes, I think it was seven, no, five blokes sentenced to 70 years for child grooming. They abused a 14 and a 15-year-old for a couple of years, and they've only just been sentenced. And they've been roaming the streets all this time. And this has gone back to sort of 10 years ago.
That's horrible. It's
But
horrible.
they're all of Pakistani origin. So they're bringing that culture to this country. We've got, what we're seeing at the moment with what's going on in Israel and Palestine and the Gaza and the demonstrations that we're seeing, and that's getting out of hand.
Yes.
And
What
and
they're doing is,
I can see bloodshed on the streets before very long. Ain't gonna.
yeah, what they're doing when I'm hearing about what's going on with these kids and the women and the beheading, and I mean, come on. It's not right. This has to stop. I mean, it just has to
Mm.
stop.
So, I mean, whatever happened to um, treat other people as you would like to be treated yourself?
Right. Take time for those people because I promise you, I
Mm.
tell kids all the time, the people that you're texting and wanting to know what they think of you, you're not going to know them in 5 years. You're not going to know who they are or care for them. And I have to tell you, it's heart wrenching. We had a little girl come to us who was coming home from school and she was gang raped, and it was horrific. And every bit of her innocence was taken from her. So she was a beautiful, beautiful girl who wanted to give up on life. And she went from just a gorgeous young lady to not caring about anything anymore. She ended up pregnant. She ended up having an atomic pregnancy, which they had to take care of and terminate. And then she had so much damage, she had to have a hysterectomy. And so she couldn't even have kids in the future. So she gave up on her life. And when I found out about this, I went and met with this beautiful girl. And at first, I was just like, hey, I just wanted to come in and say hi. And she didn't want to talk. And I was like, I'm really tired. Can I sit for a minute? And I just sat with her, didn't say a word. I made sure everybody knew what I was up to with the family wise. Just sat there and I was like, oh, I have a friend. Can I bring him in? And it was a puppy. It was a little puppy. And I just let the puppy sit in my lap. And every once in a while, she'd kind of look and not do anything, not touch. And so I put the puppy down, and the puppy went right to her. And so she grabbed the puppy and was holding the puppy. And I just sat here and didn't say a word. And then I said, oh, I didn't know how late it was. Can I leave my puppy with you and I'll come back in a couple of days? And she was like, my mom will say no. And I said, well, I'll take care of that. But if she says it's okay, will you? Yeah. So I told her mom already knew about this way before. And then I come back in a couple of days and she goes, this is Angel. And I said, oh, you named the puppy? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, the first night you left, it was the first night I slept because I had Angel, and Angel snuggled me all night. And I said, oh, well, I think Angel likes you more than me. And I said, what if I can make it where Angel lives with you? And she's like, my mom will never go for that. And I said, well, I bet I can make this happen. And then all of a sudden, she started talking to me and sharing with me. Now, in the interim of many visits, there was no communication. She just wanted to sit there, and I just sat there with her. If she wanted to reach out, then I let her. I would just sit there and just let her know she wasn't by herself, just by keeping her company. And then when she realized that she got to keep the dog, she said, can I tell you a secret? And she's looking all around. And I said, sure. Do you want me to close the door so nobody hears you? That shows her respect. That shows I respect what she's doing. So I shut the door and I stood at the door so she didn't feel scared because she just said she wanted to share with me. So I stood at the door so I wasn't sitting on the couch with her. So she didn't feel like I'm right there, that close in her personal space. And she said, I had something really bad happen to me at school, and I'm scared to go back. And I said, "Wow, I'm really sorry that happened to you, and you do not have to tell me what happened. That is up to you, but it would be great if we can make Angel be able to go to school with you and make Angel a support dog." And I said, "I can help you guys do that and make that happen. And then it won't happen again." And she goes, "You can do that?" And I said, "Yeah, there's ways to make Angel your support dog." And she goes, "I can't live through that again." And I said, "Well, I really appreciate you sharing this for me. And it really, makes me feel that Angel is just the perfect pet for you and the best friend for you." And I said, "If you ever want to talk, just tell me and I'll come back and I'll be happy. But I want to thank you for opening up and telling me what you did. I'm sure it was a real hard thing to do." And she said Angel gave her the feeling of strength. And I said, "Well, I'm going to go out and talk to your mom and make sure everything's good," which we had already done. And she said, "Oh, well, thank you. Can I give you a hug?" And I said, "Absolutely." So she came over to hug me and I said, "Can I put my arms around you?" I asked because she's been violated by people who put their hands on her in an unwarranted manner. She wanted to hug me. She didn't ask to be hugged back. And so when I asked her, she really felt respected and heard. And then she started opening up. And then we ended up going, and her mom took her to the police. And it ended up that, this went down the road. It's taking the time to listen and letting them know that it matters. It's the simplicity of something so simple as just sitting there. Let them come to you. Maybe they want to draw with you. I can't draw. I can't draw a stick person. So why don't you draw and show me what you're going to draw? And I'll just sit there and let you lead the entire conversation. I'm just here for you. And it makes such a difference. And today, nobody does that anymore. It's all self consumed. And that is
Yeah,
where this world has got so wrong.
yeah, fully agree with you there. Um, and it's people like you that are helping this situation. And
Thank you.
the more people that are like you that can help these people, the a much better place this world to be.
Thank
And
you.
that's what we
That
try
means
and do with this channel is to give people hope that there is help out there.
there is.
And sometimes that's all it takes is for somebody just to listen.
That's right. And not push them.
Yep.
Because a lot of times, to be honest with you, when you're speaking to the authorities, we feel interrogated. We feel beaten again. We feel like we're
Yeah.
getting, just because it's like, well, who saw him beat you? Who saw him break your nose? Who saw him do this? And who's going to watch their surroundings while they're getting beaten? Nobody.
Yeah.
So stop interrogating us. I mean, it's innocent until proven guilty, but to us, it's we're guilty until we prove innocent, while the others who are at fault get away with it.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Victoria, it's been most enlightening, and just thank you for sharing your
Thank you for
experiences.
having
So where can people get hold of you? How can people find your books, and how if they want to reach out, how can they get hold of you?
Uh, well, first and foremost, a contagiousmile.com is our website that gives you plenty of resources. We have a company in every state that will move you for free if you're in a situation. We have a lot of other resources to help you. You can reach out to me, and you will get me. You won't get anybody else. And I stay with you from the beginning and end up, most of the people I've worked with become family. They become good, close, forever friends. We have support groups where we're just there. There's times we sit in silence. There is Facebook is a support group. It is vetted. It's private. It's all survivors. And you could go to a Contagious Smile, any and all platforms, except I don't tweet. Is all a Contagious Smile. And our books and my daughter's book, which was a number one bestseller, is all on a Contagious Amazon under Victoria Cuore.
Fantastic. Well, if you missed that, you'll find it down in the description. And
Thank you.
well, thank you, Dr. Victoria, for such an enlightening chat.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you go. There is another fascinating chat that we've had and such valuable information. If you know of anybody that's going through it, whether it's physical or whether it's psychological abuse, do something about it. Don't sit back and let it happen. Say something. Get them the help that they need to get out of that situation. So until the next one, thank you for your time. TTFN. Ta-da for now.